From 2007, it's Long Way Down with Ewan McGregor and Charley Boorman. This, of course, is the second of their 3 motorcycle journeys traveling around the world. And you got interested when I was watching 2020's Long Way Up, which was their 3rd journey from the southernmost point of South America up to California. And we actually reviewed that episode by episode because you were so interested. Then we went back and watched 2004's Long Way Round, which was them traveling from England east to New York, which was very interesting. And Long Way Down is their journey from John Groats, Scotland to the southernmost tip of Africa, Cape Town. And this one was very different. When I watched the first 2 initially before Long Way Up, this was my favorite.
I actually think that this is my favorite now because I've always liked Africa and I found Africa very interesting. So I liked seeing them go down Africa.
I agree. It was very interesting for me to actually see the aspects that they showed of Europe before they actually went into Africa. I like that part a lot. And I like the northern part of Africa, but I was also very interested to see how different Africa is as a continent from top to bottom. It's so very different with all these countries. And yet the people are somehow the same in their graciousness and how they reached out to strangers. I like that a lot. But I really did like parts of the trip that they didn't really necessarily focus on themselves because they were interested in getting to Africa. But I really liked it when they were in Italy.
Yes, me too. I really liked seeing the differences between Italy and Africa and then comparing them. I really liked seeing them go through Italy when they don't really know a lot about Italy.
Right. I thought it was very interesting that there was a pyramid in Italy. I also thought it was very interesting how much Roman influence there is in northern Africa. Because, of course, the Roman Empire stretched far and wide, but you can still see Roman architecture, Roman roads, and aspects of Roman society and civilization in northern Africa, as well as, of course, Italy. So that was really interesting to me. Of course, as you go further south in Africa, that's gone. But I thought that part of it was very interesting.
Yes, I also thought that was very interesting. You mentioned the people, and I really liked the people there. They were very kind, and it didn't seem like they knew that Ewan and Charley were like movie stars. So I feel like you and me could have gone there, and we would have gotten the same reaction if we were doing the same thing.
In fact, when they go to Tunisia, where the original Star Wars film was shot, they're visiting Luke Skywalker's homestead, basically, and Ewan's walking around, and I think he was a little disappointed. He played it for humor. I think he thought it was funny. He wasn't really upset or anything, but he thought it was funny because nobody recognized him. And there he is, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, standing in Luke Skywalker's home, which I thought was great. I thought it was very funny. So I think you're right. I don't think these people really are starstruck at all, and really they're involved in their own lives. And I think that made it more interesting in a way for Ewan and Charley because they were taken as just regular people. So that was pretty neat.
Yes. I really liked it actually when they went to the Star Wars thing, and I found it interesting because of all places you would think that's where Ewan would get the most attention.
Exactly. And I think he was surprised that he didn't. I really did like Egypt in that part of the trip a lot. I thought it was very educational, very historical. I liked the sites. I liked the pyramids. And it was really cool because they basically camped at the base of the pyramids, which I thought was really cool.
Yes, me too. I really liked that. I liked seeing them talk about the history of things, and then it kind of all changed when they got towards Cape Town.
Right. The further they traveled south, the more remote the places, especially the roads. The roads were difficult in many respects. But the remote tribes that they would sometimes camp with, and those were interesting. I think that was probably their favorite part of the trip in some ways because they were really embedded in the society at that point. And I think they found it really interesting. And there were more animals as we got further south as well.
And that was my favorite part of watching them on the trip. I really liked seeing all of the elephants because those are my favorite animals, but also I liked how you could go on actual safaris. I found that very interesting, very cool, and it was so cool to see all of the different animals.
The silverback gorillas especially. I mean, they were very close to them. The elephants you mentioned. In fact, one night when they camped, they realized that they were closer than they probably should have been to certain animals. And at one point with the elephants, Ewan was shooting a selfie, basically. He was doing a diary cam, and the elephant was behind him. And the elephant got upset and was going to charge. And he ran back to his room and he said, "How foolish of me to have done that." But he kept the footage in, which I thought was really cool.
Yes, I would have been extremely scared if I was him, but I mean, I think he took it well.
I agree. Now, the vehicles this time, of course, they were using gas-powered motorcycles again here. It was only in the third series where they used the electric bikes. And whereas in Long Way Round, they showed a lot more of the struggles with the bikes, we still saw struggles here. But it wasn't quite as focused on that. I think they, dealt with it. They showed us what they were dealing with, of course. But I don't feel like it was focused on that quite as much as maybe Long Way Round was.
Yes, and I liked that about it. I do think it was funny when they had struggles with the cars.
Yes, especially when they were trying to get through that mud bog, and it really took a lot of people to help them get through there. Again, these two series, Long Way Round and Long Way Down, I don't think it focused on the chase vehicles with the two directors as much. They were much more prominent in Long Way Up than they were here as people we would focus on as part of the narrative. Right. And so it was really more Ewan and Charley on their own for the most part here. Of course, at one point, Ewan's wife does join in. She rides with them for a couple hundred miles. She comes and joins them in Africa. And that seems to go okay. Of course, it's kind of bittersweet to watch it now because they're not together anymore. Right. So it creates a different level. You watch it differently now than I watched it the first time when he was still with his wife at that point.
Right. When F joined, I wasn't as excited to watch it because I really liked the dynamic between Ewan and Charley. And then his wife came in and that kind of broke it up. But then I didn't really mind it after a while, and they obviously finished off with just Ewan and Charley.
I agree with everything you just said. I thought she would upset the dynamic a lot more than she did. Of course, for Charley, he's off on his own. And in fact, he rode on his own to a different spot at one point, whereas Ev and Ewan went someplace. But it seemed to work out. I don't necessarily like at the very end of these series when a million bikes join in with them. They started the journey alone. I feel like they should finish the journey alone. And I feel like this is kind of more of a publicity stunt at the end. And they do it in all three of them, where all these local bikers kind of finish out the last few miles with them. They let Ewan and Charley lead, but it's definitely a big pack of bikers at that point.
And for me, that's like you with the end of White Christmas when they zoom out and everyone's there and then the main characters are all the way back.
Yeah, they get lost in the shuffle. It's a really good point. I don't like films like that, Love Actually, White Christmas, where the camera pulls back and we wind up in the back of the room with a bunch of strangers when I've spent this entire journey with these main characters. That's very much what happens here. Ewan and Charley kind of get lost in this huge crowd of people.
Right.
Not just in the riding, but when they finish the ride and they're off the bikes and they're talking to people, it's kind of a mad rush at the end and we really don't get a lot of closure with them.
Right.
Maybe that's on purpose because they're wanting us to come back for the next journey, but I don't know if there will be one. Neither did they. And so I feel like I'm missing out on finishing the way we started.
Right, and that honestly is the only criticism that I would give this. Other than that, I really enjoyed it.
I did as well. Again, when I watched the first two, Long Way Round and Long Way Down was my favorite at that time because I felt like they had one journey under their belts. They knew a little bit about what they were doing this time. They knew what to look for, and I felt like they filmed it better as well. I have to say, out of the three, I like Long Way Up, except for the last couple of episodes when they were dealing with the bus. It was less about the motorcycles at that point. I really like, maybe it's just because I like where they were for Long Way Up, and also the fact that they were older and wiser and looked at the journey differently. So Long Way Up is probably my favorite, but I really still do like Long Way Down quite a bit. So one to see for me.
One to see here too. I really liked this one. This one's my favorite because of the place they were in for me. I really liked seeing Italy and Africa. And I think they had a lot of fun in this one.
I agree. So, you make a good point. Maybe it's about what part of the world you want to see. But with the 3 series so far, there's definitely something for everyone. So maybe they'll do something like Long Way Home and find a different route. I really want them to do at least one more because these really are very enjoyable and you do get to see the world through their eyes and it's really unique.
Yes.
See what I did there?
Oh, Daddy.